I feel like I can be a little bit more vulnerable with you and like ask you like, hey, this is hard. Like, how do you get that next client?
Marketing oneself and getting clients and getting the next job, it's something that everybody struggles with. So I would kind of start hyper local. I talk about those cyclical natures of ups and downs. During those downbeats, your local clients are the ones who are going to pay your bills.
And then I managed a luxury heli ski lodge, which I try so hard to tell people how much this has prepared me for production.
Your background is like a tapestry of like all these different like sectors and industry. Hey, everybody, welcome back. This episode is really near and dear to my heart because it's kind of a coaching call. I'm talking with a producer, Brennan Hussey, out in Denver, Colorado, who's a wonderful individual, very professional, and she puts together a pretty great shoot. And being a producer is kind of a somewhat new career change for her, and she's off to a great start. But anyways, she wanted to pick my brain about how I go about marketing myself, how I go about getting clients, and I get really specific. And I'm an open book to everybody. I'll tell anybody anything they want to know. I don't have all the secrets. Most of my advice is based on the mistakes I've made, and then correcting, and then learning what works and learning why it was a mistake to begin with. But she's kind of very much at the early part of her career, and I've been doing this for about 20 years now. And again, I don't know everything, but I know some things. And I really enjoyed this conversation with her. And, we get into kind of some nuts and bolts stuff about how, crafting an email and how to, like embedding your images over sending attachments and all kinds of stuff. And one of the things that we talked about was I think your local market is really overlooked. When we want to work for brands and we want to have this career, we always think of the bigger clients, which is great. That's always a great goal. But your local business community needs you too. And if you set up a relationship with them, you kind of will have, it has long-term value. And it's also just a good thing to do. Anyways, this is a great call. I love talking with her. She's a great producer. I think if you're any kind of freelancing creative or you're thinking about becoming a freelancing creative, this is a really good conversation for you to listen to. And also, if you're shooting in Denver and you need a producer, you should call Brennan Hussey. She's fantastic. And you know what? Denver is like a really sneaky, great city to shoot in. The creatives I'm talking about cast and crew, like the talent that's there is basically a bunch of people from LA and New York who just love the outdoors and they move there. I've shot in Denver a handful of times over the last few years and things just run really, really smoothly. And I know it's kind of considered a smaller market or kind of a second market type of city, but it's really not. It's really quite amazing. And I'm talking about models and producers and, videographers, DPs, cinematographers. Like I've worked with some really amazing people there in the Denver area. And anyways, that's my take on Denver. Shout out to Colorado. And shout out to Brennan Hussey. Thank you so much for joining this call. Really enjoyed our conversation. Let's do it again. And here we go.
I've seen clips of one. Was that just like a test?
That was a test run.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a test run. And that was, so now things are going to be rolling out in more earnest. And a lot of it has to do with time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do this too, because like social media for myself, trying to market myself on Instagram specifically, it's just not for me. Yeah. And it's tough. And I'm not the only person who feels that way. And Instagram itself as a platform, or all of the meta products in general, have kind of lost their luster in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of noise. So I don't feel so bad. I do feel a little more like, it sounds super cheesy, but like I do gravitate more towards like LinkedIn. I just think LinkedIn is a little more honest. in a weird way, even though it's really dry and it's not fun and
Yeah.
it's not very content forward type of stuff. But anyways, so doing this too, the incentive to get my friends and colleagues involved is that you get some kind of, marketing content for your own business.
That's good.
Well.
I've definitely been trying to bite the bullet and get on LinkedIn more. And it was weirder at first, and it's still a little bit weird of a platform for me. And personally, it's not my favorite, but I think Instagram still serves a purpose of being like a creative network where you can kind of show a little bit more of your interest in artsy side. I'm still trying to figure out how to leverage like Instagram for myself, because it's not fun anymore. It's more of a business. I feel like for everyone.
Yeah. And that was my thing too, is that like, okay, like everybody, Instagram and LinkedIn in some regards, it's the same thing. Everybody's selling something. Like Instagram, people are selling a version of their life, which may be true, but it's not
Highlight reel.
honest. Like it's not their whole life. It's just the very best version. Yeah, it's like it's the highlight reel of their life. Whereas in LinkedIn, everybody's selling something, but they're not trying to mask that. Like everybody's there to try to, to get a job or to get the next job or to level up. So I don't know. And it's a little more academic in that regard. And like I said, it's dry. It's not perfect, but
I do want to say, while we're on the topic of LinkedIn specifically, I feel something I wanted to voice about LinkedIn is my frustration for like how much of the workforce it kind of leaves out. And like more power to someone who doesn't need it. But like, there's so many people that there's no space for on LinkedIn who are like really amazing in their own professions, talking about the whole hospitality sector that kind of gets left behind in like a professional mindset, I feel like. And then like my best friend's an amazing vet. She's a veterinary doctor. I don't see very many medical professionals on LinkedIn. There's just so many people that are discounted, and that's just corporate life and brands. But I find that frustrating with LinkedIn a little bit. But I mean, if you don't need to be on there, I don't blame you.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And if you don't need to be on any of those things, yeah, no, I hear you. And you're right. In LinkedIn, your criticism of LinkedIn is valid, because I feel like you could say that almost about any sector on LinkedIn, except for like the people who are like true marketers, but anybody who makes something, who makes content, like it's not, I don't know what it is. I think LinkedIn is trying to appeal to everybody. And so then everything gets kind of, everything, I hate using this, where everything becomes kind of same. It's like they can't really engage with one community or the other, even though I wish they should try, but no, that's really interesting. And nobody really thinks about using it. Tons of people have LinkedIn accounts, but they haven't logged into it in years.
I know. Yeah.
And I wish more, I do think the algorithm behind LinkedIn is a little more, they're not trying to sway elections. They're not trying to get everybody upset or like, it's not optimized for outrage over, that kind of engagement, but it may be going that way. But I don't know. I'm not some huge LinkedIn advocate. I wrote this post on LinkedIn maybe 6-7 months ago, but I was just doing the math. I was like, as long as I'm active on LinkedIn, I've been getting like 4 jobs a year from LinkedIn, and and one of those jobs turned into like a regular client that now has me on a retainer. And that's just for me. Either I happen to be on LinkedIn and I see like a company's posting, like we're looking for freelancers for these positions, and I happen to be like right place, right time, or somebody reached out to me because they were thinking of LinkedIn as their, like they went to LinkedIn first to try to find a photographer, for example. But I can't say that about Instagram or anything else, So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. But what did you want to talk about today, Brennan?
Like I said in my text message, that I'd been officially doing production work all of 2024, and then launched my branded business January 2025. I got one job with a client that I'd already had, and I'm working on like networking, building out my portfolio, biz dev, as the sales folks like to say. So I'm like deep in that like marketing phase.
Congratulations,
well,
by the way.
Yeah.
What's the name of your company?
So I would like to preface, my name is Brennan Hussey. So I called my business Hussey House Creative.
Yeah, you did.
I did. Yeah.
I love it.
Wanted to be a little cheeky. And that was a little bit of a marketing strategy. Maybe less forgetful. It might be kind of jarring for some people, but you know what? I think I'm going to own it. I've had
it's good.
Maybe change it, but I think I'm going to hold on it.
Own it. Like, it has personality, and it has your personality, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's great.
So yeah, I just wanted to check in with you because we've worked together in the past, and it was great, and I liked working with you, and we've connected on LinkedIn, as we mentioned, but I think you do a really great job of marketing yourself, and you've been in this game as a photographer, working as a freelancer for what, 15 years, more than that, maybe more. Okay,
longer than I would like. I've been a freelancer since 2009.
I mean, you've been doing this like your whole professional career.
Almost, yeah. Basically,
you have so much insight, and you're a professional connection, but also a friend in that regard. I just really liked working with you, so I feel like I can be a little bit more vulnerable with you and like ask you like, hey, this is hard. Like, how do you get that next client? Like, how what are some of your tips to do that? Let's talk about outreach. Let's talk about what you're asking potential clients. Are you putting together proposals? I want to know.
Yeah. So these are all great questions. And thank you for saying all that. We should have this call once a week, because that was just like a nice little love fest. That was awesome. Marketing oneself and getting clients and getting the next job, it's something that everybody struggles with. So in your freelance career, there are going to be beautiful, dramatic, glorious ups, and there's going to be really dark, depressing downs. So just remember that for every downbeat, there's an upbeat, and you're not alone. You know what you're doing. You yourself are a pleasure to work with. You're extremely professional. So you're good at what you do. So during those downbeats, don't take it personally. Try to remember that it's harder. It's when you're up, you think you're always going to be up. You think things are always going to be awesome. Just remember, like, it's cyclical. This industry is fickle and it's two-faced sometimes. Just try not to take it personally. Remember, you're not alone.
Feast and famine for a reason.
Yeah, feast and famine. Chicken one day, feathers the next.
Yeah.
But anyways, so everybody struggles with that, and marketing yourself. So remember, you're not alone. Marketing yourself. It's a landscape that's always kind of shifting and changing. So you yourself are going to get a little taste of what it's like to be one of your clients in these brands, because they're always having to adjust and adapt to new trends. And do I follow this trend, or do I try to go in a different direction, or whatever? Like, and I would say, as your compass, this is where you do take it personal, is try to gravitate towards what feels right for you at the time. One of the mistakes I made is trying to be a people pleaser to everybody. Like, I was trying to be all things. I was trying to be the perfect photographer for all things for everybody all the time. Meaning I would photograph a lot of fashion. I would photograph kid stuff. I would shoot product. I was not saying no enough. I should have put most of my effort, and this is where I am now, in targeting. And this is one thing I would target specifically who you want to work for. One, like brands that you actually like, maybe you're more personally aligned with their values. Maybe you like their product. Maybe you just want to be in that world. Regardless of whether big or small, I would try to target brands you want to work with. And I would kind of start hyper local. You're in Denver. I would look at Denver specifically. Most shoots are hyper local hires, and I would start there. Eventually, as you know, and hopefully you blow up. Hopefully you're just like the producer's producer and everybody loves you. And then people in New York or Montreal or Orlando or, they're flying you out.
Yeah.
You'll get there. But in the beginning, start local. And during those, I talk about those cyclical natures of ups and downs. During those downbeats, your local clients are the ones who are going to pay your bills during those downbeats, And so how that translates practically into marketing yourself, there's another mistake I made. I was trying to do like these like email blasts where I was like emailing like several hundred people at a time, introducing myself and who I was, blah, 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 blah. But the email itself, email marketing, it just seemed canned because it was spam. But if you take the time and you email 5 people a day and you're just like, this is who you keep it short and sweet. This is who I am. I really I love your visuals, specifically the most recent campaign or like whatever. I saw this on social media. I love it. I would really love to be on your talent radar, or I would love to buy you a cup of coffee. I'm here in Denver, get really specific, get really personal. You still may not hear back and you may hear a no, or, hey, thank you for reaching out or whatever. But that's okay. That's just kind of how it works. Mm-hmm. And then specifically, I wonder if I could share.
I was like, gonna be like, do you want to audit one of my emails? That'd be fun.
Well, I don't have all the answers. I would, but I don't have all the answers. All my advice is based on all the mistakes I've made in the past. And I've made a lot of mistakes over the last like 20 something years. But one thing new that I started doing, and I got this from somebody on LinkedIn, this photographer on LinkedIn, he was talking about, he was very transparent of his email marketing efforts. Basically, put a PDF together. It's about 8 pages.
Okay.
And it's just of your work. And there's an introduction, your name, what you do, there's a table of contents, quick about me, and samples of your work. And the reason why it works so well that
so I'm talking about, Alex,
your clients don't have a lot of time. If they're going to entertain an email from a stranger, what's called a cold email, if they're going to entertain a cold email, you have to be respectful of their time. So you got to make things quick and to the point. And so I recommend 2 things: creating that PDF, and it's just kind of like a sample, a really good sample. It's a portfolio, but it's a sample of who you are and what you do, and try to embed a little bit of your personality into it. And that way they can just open up and they can skim it and be like, cool, I get her, I get it. Oh, wow, she actually seems cool. I'm going to forward this PDF to, my CMO or whatever. And then I don't always recommend spending money. I try not to spend money, but there is a Chrome extension called Cloud HQ that I really, really highly recommend. It's cheap. I think it's like $15 a year. So it's not even that big of a deal. But what it does is that it allows you to embed in the email samples of your work. So JPEGs or whatever, and certain design. And what's cool about it is that if you also receive like a newsletter or whatever that you really like, and you want to copy that format or that design, you can forward that newsletter into Cloud HQ, and it will reverse engineer and turn that into a template for you. So you can kind of have your design ready to go.
That's cool. I'm wondering, like, for example, I sent a client a website of a stylist I wanted to hire for a job, and the client couldn't pull up her website. It was blocked on her corporate server, which I found interesting. I told the stylist about it. I wonder if this keeps things from getting blocked by like.
So yes,
server?
it does.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And because I use, the other option is to, instead of embedding the images, is just to attach more images of your work. But certain servers will if they don't know who's sending it, will block attachments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And won't let your potential client open them. So if you embed the images, and again, it's all about having empathy for your client. They don't have a lot of time, but they're giving your email a look. And so you want to make it quick and easy and easily digestible for them. So embed the images and come up with like a PDF that you do attach to it, but at least they have something that they can share or reference later on down the road.
This is great. I'm 100% going to be probably working on that today because it's great advice. And I'm replaying an interaction with a potential client that it's not a lost cause, but I'm still waiting to hear back from a follow-up email I sent. And like, if I had just had this when they reached out to me, might not be waiting.
Yeah.
Now.
You have something ready to go for sure.
This is awesome. And I'm excited to do it. And I also have a pretty good graphic design skills. So I can whip that up.
So I was going to bring that up. Like it's another thing about your marketing, like it's your personality. People always say, don't take business personally. It's business. It's not personal. Screw that. Make it personal. Make your personality and who you are the fulcrum of your business. One of the mistakes I made years ago was I tried to present myself. I tried to market myself as like this one-man agency. Like I can do it all. And I was like, subcontracting out other photographers and stylists and whatnot. And that got a little bit of traction, but ultimately people want to hire creative individuals. They want to hire somebody who's professional, but is also kind of an artist. So I would say just keep you and your identity. You're already doing it. Your personality, the center of your branding, and lean on your strengths. So you have a great background in graphic design. Does that include like web design and branding and logo?
Can we get into it for a second? Because it overwhelms people and I'm trying to decide what to show and what to not, because I think it turns some people off when they're like, oh, we've got a Jackie of all trades here. But I've started off in graphic and web design, then moved into working at a radio station. So I was doing production even before I knew what production was, but I was at a community radio station. There's 3 employees. We had lots of volunteers, but I was the on air. I did the morning reporting and news and interviewing. So I would book all the interviews. I did 10 a week. A lot of them were like this, or mostly I was recording in a phone booth and editing the interview. Then I did a little bit of freelance journalism. I actually produced a story down in Mexico. Traveled there to Tlaxcala and interviewed some folks who used to live in Jackson Hole who are now back in Mexico. I worked in hospitality for a while because I kind of moved cities and ended up there and getting into wine, and then COVID hit. And then I managed a luxury heli ski lodge, which I try so hard to tell people how much this has prepared me for production, and it just glazes over people. But we were, we used radio comms, like we had multiple aircrafts coming into this remote lodge, the logistics of like bringing fuel out there and like Wagyu steaks and like just dealing, and managing a lodge while like serving a clientele and like being the face. So that was like a really big part of like my skill set. Doesn't really transfer into the corporate world. Like they don't quite understand. But yeah, I've been doing, since I'm trying to fully transition out of hospitality, I have been getting back into graphic design, some illustration, and a little bit of digital marketing, which I'd been doing for a little while. But once I found production, I was like, oh, this is like, everything's coming together. Like the radio background, the hospitality, the design eye helps when you're talking to creatives. But yeah, that's my background. I probably skipped a few things, but
dude, you've lived like 3 lives. You're incredible. What was the story in Mexico?
I can send you. It was so I was living in Jackson Hole for a while. That's where I worked at the radio station. And then I started this relationship with the Jackson Hole News and Guide, which is the newspaper there, which I plug for local reporting. Like local reporters do not get enough love. But the editor-in-chief had this idea because she found out I was going down to Mexico anyways I studied Spanish there for a month or two. And she pitched this idea and I was on board and I went down to Tlaxcala, which is a state in Mexico. And there's this town called San Simeon, which I would say like 60% of the town now lives in Jackson Hole and is a big center of the workforce there. It was a small town that there was a highway, like it used to be like a highway stop town. And so they had a lot of like jobs, but then there was an interstate in Mexico that was built and bypassed the town. So not a lot of work. So a lot of people started going to Jackson and there's the sister cities and they're connected in a way. And I talked to a lot of like families who hadn't seen their family in a long time. I talked to people who were building homes with like the money they were making up in Jackson to come and move back to this little town in Mexico. It was a really beautiful town, by the way.
That's amazing, Brennan.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, that's really cool.
I loved working in journalism. I really, really did. It just was a lot on my heart.
That's what I mean. I kind of committed to photography in college because I wanted to work in journalism. I wanted to work for the New York Times.
Yeah.
And by the time I graduated, I was like, there's zero money in this now, and like, there's no way to have a career. And it used to be, I assisted a local photographer who worked for the local newspaper. And it used to be like, you could be a staff photographer for your local rag, and you get a magazine contract, and like, you're not making tons of money, but you're buying a house or something, you're doing something. It's a career. But that kind of evaporated by the time I graduated college. And
journalism changing pretty rapidly. We don't need to get into it, but it like especially in the last like 5 years. So yeah, it's interesting. I know a lot of journalists who've left work, a really talented photojournalist at that paper. Actually, it doesn't do it anymore. But yeah,
National Geographic like let go of their last 2 staff photographers last year, I think.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they're all outsourcing freelance kind of stuff. But anyways, I love all that. I want to pick your brain even more. I hope we get to work together soon.
I had gotten advice, and I just want to follow up with my one question of like,
how do you communicate that?
How do you not like oversaturate someone with too much stuff, and someone's like, oh, like she hasn't like stayed in a job, or it's not that. It's like my or my curiosity and my interest and just where life's taken me. And like, I follow what is engaging. It's not like I'm like,
yeah. I think the diversity, and you have like your background is like a tapestry of like all these different like sectors and industry. Okay. So I would say there's some common threads through all of that. The common thread that I would speak to first in your marketing or in your emails or however you talk about this stuff, every client, I don't care what their brand is, every client is budget conscious. They want to know that you can stretch $1. And so try to think about and try to talk about like, yeah, I've had to like handle budgets and cost, like I understand that. Secondly, you have a ton of experience. I mean, it sounds like with the radio thing, but you know how to work with and book talent and coordinate schedules. That's another big thing. Try to talk about that. That's a common thread through all of that, from if I'm hearing you correctly.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Yeah.
And then you've already talked about this, but just like, I would just be like, look, I'm a logistical Swiss Army knife. I have done this for in the luxury sector, for luxury, hospitality resorts, or however you want to phrase it. I would even say that like I've gotten Wagyu helicoptered in, for dinner that night. Like that was my job. Like, how do you do that? Maybe, I don't know, or, dress it up somehow. But I maybe try to focus on 3 common threads that the client actually cares about. 1, money. Every client cares about money. So try to talk up like, I've handled budgets. I tell clients, I spend money. I don't spend somebody else. I spend somebody else's money like it's my own money. You know what I mean? I try to stretch every dollar. I try to bring as much. that part is tricky, and I still struggle with it because I don't want to present myself as the budget guy,
Yeah.
But you want to be more the value person. Like I pack in as much value as possible. But I would do that, and then logistics and coordinating talent, negotiating, negotiating contracts and fees and stuff like that. So does that help at all?
Yeah, no, it's helpful. And it's also kind of, you're just like, we're talking about this in a moment where I'm kind of coming to self-realization that like, I'm not new to this. Like I've been producing for years. I just didn't really know what it was like, which I think that is more a class identifier than anything. Like I think the Atlantic put out an article, it's like 8 years ago, about talking about how the creative field is like 80% people who grew up in like the upper class. Because the creative field, like I didn't know growing up that there was even like I didn't know about the creative fields like some people do. And it's just taken me the last 15 years, like as a working person, to kind of be like, oh, these jobs exist. Like I just didn't know they were there. And I'm okay with that. Like I'm okay that I'm discovering it now. 10 years after I've been working, I'm excited to find them and know that I can do them. But
I never wanted to be a freelancer, a creative freelancer. What do you want? I got laid off in 2009, and I was like, okay, I guess I don't want to call myself unemployed. I'll just say I'm a freelancer. And then I started freelancing, and I was like, I remember I was 28, 29 years old, and it was during like a recession, and I was picking up gigs off of Craigslist, and I ended up just hustling. And like I worked for, back then it was called Shop Nasty Gal, but Nasty Gal was one of them.
I know Nasty Gal.
Yeah, they started out in the Bay Area, and I shot for her for a little bit, but I shot for a bunch of kind of like little startups. And you kind of just start grinding, and anyways, it just kind of happened, and then I was like, wow, this is an actual job. Like this is fine. You can actually do this. People are doing this all the time. I didn't know that. So anyways, no, yes, you can definitely do this job, and you've done this job in some capacity in other sectors. And you'll just have to kind of remind yourself of that too. One of the things, though, a mistake I made is I wish I would have assisted for longer. I was a PA. Like I was already off being a professional freelancing photographer, and I was asked to PA the shoot in San Francisco literally the night before, because some other PA dropped out, and a friend of mine was on the shoot, and I think I was like 31, 32 at the time. And he was like, look, I know you don't assist anymore, but we just need somebody who knows San Francisco and who can kind of like run errands and do all that stuff. I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll come through. And it was a really big production. And I was like, man, I should have been doing this. I should have been doing this for years, because I learned so much. I would even, for the right photographer, the right situation, somebody I really admire, or a project that like, I just want to know, like, how do you do that? Like, I would do it again.
Yeah. I've PA'd. I'm so open to PAing, especially on bigger jobs with bigger crews. I love like meeting the rest of the crew and seeing all the jobs that go into these like high gloss productions. And I'm so open to assisting.
I would reach out. I would market yourself as a producer, because you are a producer and you're good at it. I would reach out to other producers in the area and be like, look, I'm here, and just be honest. Like, I'm just trying to learn.
That doesn't take away from like my like production, like me marketing. So. Okay. I didn't think so. And then someone maybe hinted that might, and I'm like, oh, huh.
I wouldn't, I would, the truth is I would keep it behind the scenes.
Okay.
I wouldn't put yourself out there. Like, you need to market yourself. Everybody needs to know you as a producer.
Okay.
What kind of producer? Are you mostly stills? Are you stills and video? Are you mostly video? Blah, blah, whatever. But it actually adds to it, because if you reach out to people, and I did this during COVID. I was like, look, I'm also a photographer. I'm here. If you ever need an extra pair of hands or you just want to chat and get coffee, I'm the guy. And what ends up happening is that they're too busy and they end up referring work to me for projects that are like too small for them or they're just too busy for. So if you make those connections with more established producers or, who's people who've been operating in that space for longer, reach out to them, make a good impression, as I know you will. And what will happen is that they'll end up referring work to you. Be like, look, they could be like, I don't really do that, but I know somebody who does. This kind of fits her skill set more. So it can actually add to it. But you want to sell yourself. You want to market yourself as a producer, as, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with the hustle. There's absolutely nothing wrong.
No. And I'm past the point in my life where I'm like, I have too big of an ego to like be an assistant. Like it's just, I don't know if I was ever there, but you know what I mean? Like when you're younger and you come in, you have all these ideas and you want to like, be the top dog. But I'm just so like, okay with like being the assistant on something and observing and like learning.
And I'll tell you, that's a really good perspective. And that's another mistake I made is that I had an ego that I was like, oh no, I've kind of graduated away from like shooting product or from retouching or from assisting or whatever, where I wish I would have stayed in that space a little bit longer, especially being a PA. But during COVID, like all my income evaporated for a while there. And I reached out to this photographer, actually on LinkedIn. This photographer in San Francisco posted something on LinkedIn. He just needed help. He photographed portraits and headshots, and he had a studio in San Francisco, and he just needed help. And I got the sense that he wanted to run the business and didn't need to be the guy behind the camera all the time. So I was like, yeah, I'll come and be the second shooter. It's fine. I'll come be it. And I learned a ton. And this guy his name's Dan St. Louis. He's awesome. When I met him, I think he was like 29. And I learned so much from him, so much that was really surprising to me because I'm like, here I am. I was in like late 30s, early 40s or something. And I was like, thinking I knew how to take a headshot and blah, blah, you know what I mean? But I learned how he went about his business because he's super, super focused on just headshots. Like that's his thing and he has it down. I learned a ton, and I helped him out for a couple months and it was good. And I was so glad I was able to kind of check my ego and go offer support to him because I learned a ton.
It's cool to hear that you did that too, because I don't know if enough people are open to learning from people, like let's say someone younger than us. Like there's so much to learn from people who are younger than us. Like I don't know if enough people are like able to accept that.
There's something
in a better place if we did.
There's something about our industry that's very closed off. It's very guarded. And I kind of understand why, but I told the story before, but I had a photography studio, and across the street from my photography studio was this French cafe, and a group of graphic designers actually would meet up every Wednesday and they would talk and they would share stuff. And I'm like, photographers would never do this. There's no way we would ever meet and share anything, and I think your generation is changing that in a good way. Like it's becoming a little more open. And I think that's a good thing. But yeah, it's really guarded. I think it's a famine perspective of like, there's just not enough work to go around.
That's a bigger problem in general though. It's not just like this industry. It's more of a society in general. Can I jump to kind of I don't want to call it a crazy question because I don't think it's crazy, but like, I just wanted to ask this question of something I'm considering within. You kind of mentioned at the beginning of our talk how just be prepared because the client's needs are changing and just be aware of that. And something that I've observed about, which tell me if you've observed this too, about brands and clients, is their budgets are kind of shrinking a little bit, getting cut down. A lot of brands are opting out of bigger productions. They're opting out of maybe working with influencers per se. They're looking for people who can like produce like everything in-house on a smaller scale. And I'm flirting with the idea of learning videography myself. I have talked to a few producers who kind of do everything themselves. Like they're doing the producing, they're doing the shooting. And I'm considering learning. Like I really like photography for more hobby, and like I would like to teach myself videography in a more like technical way, and bring that into my skill set. Am I adding too much on my plate, or do I, because I really do see potential and I in that, or am I trying to do too much?
That's a great question. And I think a lot of freelancers have similar questions of like, how much do I specialize in one direction and how much do I try to be the answer to everybody? And so here's my perspective. The people who command a higher price point, the people who make really good money and they do really amazing projects are the ones who specialize in something. You know, the photographers who just do photography, the videographers who just do video, the producers who just produce. I mean, everybody wears a lot of different hats. It has different skill sets. Those are the ones who kind of command they make more money. This is the best way I could put it. And they're kind of like more respected in that regard, I think. They've made a name for themselves as a thing. And that sounds like I'm advocating for niching down. I'm not necessarily saying that. But what I would tell you is, this kind of goes back to earlier in the conversation. I think who you are to your hyper local market is different than who you are outside of Denver. And so because video and photography is so intrinsically a part of your profession, I would learn it just to learn it, just to be able to speak that language, just to be able to know the difference between different log files and be able to walk up to a DP and be like, can I see the false colors on the monitor? Or whatever, you know, being able to listen and speak that language. Because in a lot of ways, as a producer, you're in between these two worlds. You're in between corporate and creative. And so you need to be able to be bilingual, even though it sounds like you already are, but, you know, to be able to speak, you know what I mean, in two different directions and be able to translate or interpret. So I would learn it. There's other good reasons to learn that. I would say, though, if your heart is being behind the camera and you want to be the person who's more hands-on making the thing, then do it, then go for it. And I think there are clients out there who would be able to recognize that value in you of like, oh, Brennan, she can pick up a camera and she can do it. That's great. But I will tell you, you will regret it at least 50% of the time, because producing takes all of this brain. And it takes all this brain power, and you got to be behind the scenes. And it's really difficult to be looking through a viewfinder and then keeping things running in the background. And it's extremely difficult. The only way to pull it off is if there's a budget for you to hire like 4 assistants. You know what I mean? And if there's a budget to hire 4 assistants, then they should hire a videographer who's been doing this for 20 years. Do you know what I mean?
Or a producer and a DP at the same time.
Something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I think I'm kind of saying yes and no. I would say like, okay. Get into it because you want to get into it and because it's important for you to know what that job is like. But I just say this as every photographer self-produces like at least half their shoots every year for smaller clients who don't have a budget. And that's fine. But the best work I do is when I only have to worry about what's going on in front of the camera. I don't have to worry about anything behind me.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, Alex, it's time. We got 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. When you're like, we got to go. I'm like, oh shit, my bad. We got to go. You know, that kind of stuff. And it creates better work. The individual pieces, the individual deliverables are better. The client gets more of them, you know, and everything runs a lot smoother. And you've a producer and a videographer and photographer working together prevents an 8-hour day turning into a 16-hour day, you know?
Yeah.
And when that happens, the work suffers too. So this sounds like this is a common conversation I have to have with clients of like, look, yes, you're spending more money hiring a producer, but you're actually kind of saving money and you're making more money because the actual thing you need us to make is better and it will produce better returns for you. That sounds like a mortgage broker talking about making art, but that's how they think. That's the language that they want to hear. So I would say get into it. I would say baby steps, and then try to make something. Honestly, like take your iPhone and go like come up with some project and just try to make something.
I have been doing that to learn Premiere Pro, which has been good to dive in. It's helpful to have a Adobe base. I'm starting on that. I've got some books I'm reading. And this would be like a different brand name underneath the Hussey House umbrella, just to kind of piece it out and separate it. But I also I have this skill of like interviewing people on air that I'm like, okay, how can I bring this to life in 2025? Because I don't know about you, but personally, I don't really want to listen to a podcast anymore, but like video is so relevant.
Yeah.
Like what we're doing right now.
Sure. Yeah. So I would say this. I don't know if it really has to be totally independent from the services you're already offering at Hussey House. Every client, I work with mostly kind of apparel, direct to consumer brands. Every client struggles with social media stuff. Mm-hmm. So if you were to be like, look, I'm not a seasoned DP, but I can do the social media thing. I can do your reels.
That's my idea. Yeah. My idea would be to call it Snack House because it's just a little bite.
Okay. That's awesome. I love that, And so I would, if that wants to be its own thing, to do its own thing, I would maybe just offer that under your umbrella of services of 30-day social media content calendar. Hire me, I'll do this and do it. People, especially smaller clients, they like flat rates. Just be like, $7,500. I'll get you content for 20 business days or 30 days in a month or whatever you want to call it. And then I'll coordinate talent or whatever, blah, 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 whatever. I'll get it chopped up for you. It'll be good to go. I'll put it all in a doc and, that kind of thing. I would offer that. Or if you like the interview thing, corporate interviews are a big deal. You could do that where it's like
nonprofits need it too to tell their stories.
Yeah, do that. I would say then you're wearing kind of three really important hats: producer, DP, and the interviewer. And I would say you're very smart and professional. I would say that's too much.
Yeah.
At that point, I would say you need to focus on being the interviewer and hire somebody at least who has the gear and knows how to set up a 2-light setup and put a camera on a tripod, and the thing's going to look clean and professional, because it's a lot. If you get a corporate client, maybe eventually you'll be able to kind of be like this one-woman show, but I would say specialize in producing first. I'm a producer first. But for smaller projects and smaller clients, I can be the Swiss Army knife that you need me to be.
And I was thinking it probably would be a little more graceful to start producing and then go to videography versus the other way around. I feel like
correct. Yes,
it might be a little better of a step. But
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think instead of videography, I would maybe see yourself as a director more so. Where it's like, you need me to create this content and you have experience with, you have experience. And I would imagine you still have colleagues or friends in the luxury resort space or whatever. If you have a foot in the door in that world, like go towards that direction, because they do rely on a lot of influencers in their marketing, but they know that their customer has discerning taste and they want shiny, glossy, professional looking things in their marketing assets.
What are you working on right now, Alex? What are you excited about? How are things for you?
You are a good interviewer.
I haven't asked you enough questions about yourself right now. I feel like it's been very one-sided, so I'm sorry.
I'm fortunate right now in this year, just to be totally candid, I have a retainer client. And that gives me the space and honestly the income to do more personal projects. So I'm working with a designer. Her name is Savannah down in LA. She's a fashion designer. She's a costume maker. She works on TVs and commercials and movies and stuff. But she has her own line that she's trying to get off the ground. And I met her working. Who did I work with? I forget, some brand. Anyway, so in a couple weeks, I'm going down to LA, and I put this whole shoot together for her. We're test shoots. Oh, that's another thing we should talk about. Have you heard of a test shoot or spec shoot?
I think I've been a part of them.
They are maybe the most underrated, misunderstood, most important part of our marketing efforts. I would reach out to local videographers, photographers, or whatever. Hey, reach out to me. You want to come to LA or San Francisco, whatever? Let's work together.
Yeah.
If you want to put together a spec shoot, so you can say like, I did this, check me out. It's such good marketing content too. You get to network. You're working with people whom maybe you would not have met otherwise. And those people are going to go off to other jobs, and they're going to be able to recommend you, or they're going to become art directors and creative directors themselves. Test shoots are the most important thing to do for your marketing. Also, they're a huge pain in the ass. If I can do 3 test shoots a year, that's like a success, because they're hard to get off the ground. But anyways, I learned that from a makeup artist who I did a test shoot with many years ago. And we were just talking, and I was like, so what? I was asking her, I was like, what do you do? You're busy. Like, how do you stay busy? How do you market yourself? She's like, I don't do Instagram. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. She's like, I just do test shoots. That's all I do. She's like, because I meet everybody I need to know on these things. I get great content out of it, and it keeps me busy. People like to see experts are busy. Experts are expensive, and we're busy. We're not always available. And she's like, I still post things on Instagram, but she's like, that's just to stay on people's radar, But she's like, I really get a lot of work out of these test shoots because I meet people who go do work, and they like, oh, we need a makeup artist. Oh, I just worked with somebody, and she was awesome, and that's how it works. So I would try to, some local artists there in Denver, try to put something together. And I did a test shoot where I was like specifically targeting Levi's. And it worked. This is many, many years ago, but I got a friend of mine who's a model. I was like, look, I'm trying to get Levi's as a client. Let's do some fun kind of denim. Let's tell a denim story, and it worked, and it was awesome. And so you can kind of shape your test shoot to the client you're trying to approach, or just be a total artist about it and just be like, I just want to do this. I love David LaChapelle, or I love whomever, I want to be in this world. I want to show people my artistic take. You're big into live music, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of bands there in Denver, a lot of these venues, like do something in a venue, or with a band, do something for a band that you really love, and you can support them that way. But think of some kind of shoot where you can brag about all the production muscles that you had to flex to pull that thing together.
So when you say spec test shoots,
mm-hmm.
I feel like, so that you're just, it's like not pro bono, but like you're doing,
you're just making art. You're just making art.
Cool.
You're doing your own art project, a spec shoot. I think specifically a spec shoot is I'm doing this on spec for a very specific client.
Yeah.
Almost like a proof of concept kind of
shoot.
Those,
but I haven't done a test shoot for
Yeah, just do a test shoot. Just like I'm doing this thing, and again, so you meet people, you get to make something cool, and the whole way through you're like, this is better be good enough that I can put in my portfolio at the top of my webpage, and we're not leaving until I get that thing. We're not done until I know we have that. And you're the client, you're in the driver's seat. So, and you actually learn a lot of empathy, what it's like to be a client too.
Do you remember Paulina? I don't know if this was a test shoot, but she recently did this epic photo shoot. She styled this epic like Jello photo shoot of my dreams.
Wow.
I'll send you the post via Instagram because
she was great. She was so nice and such a pro. I loved her.
She's great. Also hired another stylist for the project I did back in February, who's LA based, who's awesome. So if you ever need a stylist in the LA area, I have someone amazing to recommend who just moved there. So
yeah. And Brennan, if you want to put something together, I'll come to Denver.
Really?
You know, yeah. I mean, I know you know everybody you need to know out there. You know, I mean, there's no shortage of talented photographers in Denver. But
it's a scene though, and I'm breaking in and I'm new and I've been the new kid before and I know how it feels and that's what's happening and it's okay. But I'd love to come out to California if you ever have anything.
Dude, 100%. If you got an idea, if you think of something, you're like, you know what, I really love to do it, especially if it's in the fashion editorial look and feel, let me know.
Cool.
My whole thing with still photography is I want to make something that I can frame and hang on the wall. Like all this art behind me, these are other people's art. And that's a problem. This should all be my shit. You know? I
don't know. I feel like it's a sign of a healthy artist to be inspired by other art. I mean, like you should have a few of yours up in your house, but.
Yeah, I have 0. I have 1, but even that I'm tired of looking at. So.
It's hard, but.
Somebody offered to buy it from me the other day. I was like, you can have it. Just take it. My wife's like, no, you're not getting rid of that. Anyways, how do you feel? Was this helpful?
Super helpful. Yeah, it's really, really helpful. And just like having someone to talk to, it can be lonely and isolating, you know, it's steering your own ship. And, you know, as freelancers, we just have to like tether these, you know, you're a coworker of mine in a way. Yeah. And, you know, it's nice to like meet for lunch or, you know, like meet for a chat because we don't have that ability to do that every day. Like get up from your desk.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm happy to hear it. And I hope we can work together and this year would be really cool. But really nice talking to you regardless. It feels like you've done
great. I know you want to be, you know, if you want to get behind the camera, I think you'd do great, but you're a kick-ass producer.
Well, thank you.
You did great. And
I still have a lot to learn, but
we all do.
Yeah.
Real quick, Brennan, where can people find you?
Oh, yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Brennan Hussey, or you can go to my website, husseyhousecreative.com.
Okay, we'll put it in the lower third.
You can find my email there, or you can find my Instagram at Bren's Lens, and there's 2 underscores in between Bren's and Lens.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brennan. I'm gonna hit stop. I'll talk to you soon. Brennan, thank you so much for taking the time. Let's do it again. I really enjoy calls like that. I think I've given this advice so many times in my life, but if you think you're good at something, try doing it on your own as a freelancer or starting your own business. I think you would learn it. Even if you just do it for a short time, for 6 months, a year, whatever, and it's not your thing, that's totally fine. I'm not saying being a freelancer is better across the board. It's not, and there's a give and take. You trade away time for freedom. You get a lot of freedom back. But anyways, being in-house is great too. But if you're thinking about it, I know it's kind of getting started as a freelancer. A lot of people are lost. I was lost. I'm still lost. How to market yourself, how to get clients, how to go about it, your sales acquisition, your client acquisition, you know, process and whatnot. But just getting started, the first few steps. I love talking about that space and how to get and all that. And a lot of times too, and I keep thinking I'm graduating away from a certain kind of client or a certain type of way of marketing myself or a certain kind of project, but there's always exceptions. And so have the big brands, the big goals, the big projects, the big campaigns in mind. Like that's where you want to go. Just don't lose yourself in the process, and don't forget about the small guy and gal who's opening up a coffee shop around the corner, or the personal trainer in your community who needs some content. You know, reach out to them and see if there's something you can do for them. And you'll definitely learn a lot. You'll get a portfolio piece out of it. and you'll be a part of your local business community, which I think is something that's often overlooked by freelancers. Again, we're always kind of going after the big fish and the big glossy campaigns, which is correct. It's the correct thing to do. But explore your local business community and see what's out there as well. It's a good place to get started, and it's a good place that will always be there for you during the downswings too. Again, you can message me, LinkedIn, Instagram, a little bit more so these days. I'm on a little bit more, but only as much as I have to because I hate Instagram. Yeah, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, any topics you want me to cover, leave a comment. That's probably the best way to do it. Leave a comment. And thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye.